Hello. I think I have to start over here. Anywho's, what I've done is create a little package called hotel. I have a hotel class and a room class. I do have a public static void main in the room class. I'm just going to put that in there for right now so we can sort of test some things out. But ultimately, we'll have our own class, tester class. But for right now, just so I can test some stuff out, I'm going to have public static void main in the room class. This is something that's caused a little bit of confusion, I think, too. You can only have one public static void main that's going to run inside a package. So sometimes I see people have several public static void mains, and that's going to cause some issues. All right, design a class called room. The class will hold 4 instance variables, 1 constructor, and 7 methods. So some people have kind of started to make their own, interpretations of this and had different instance variables. But the truth is, it can be done with these variables, and you don't really want to make extra stuff. You're probably, I'm not marking it down right now, but I'm saying in the future you'll be marked down for stuff like that. If it says 4 instance variables, make 4 instance variables, right? So we got 4 instance variables for room number, days rented, room type, and occupant name. The descriptions are provided below. I'm pretty sure that room number, days rented are going to be ints, and room type and occupant name are going to be strings. What do you guys think about that? Pretty sure, but I can always fix it later. Yeah, room number is an integer, days rented is an integer, room type is a string. It holds 1 of 3 room descriptions, so that could be something we work on, but occupant name is a string. Okay, fine. Write a constructor. Let's write a constructor. So a constructor just looks like public and then the name of the class of room. And the constructor should take 2 arguments, one specifying the room number, right, which is an int, so that's going to be int. I'm just going to call it R, so I don't have to use this. And 1 room type. Room type is a string, so I'm going to call it string and type. How about that? So in here, pretty sure I will set room number to R and room type to type. Now, let me say one thing. I've seen this on a couple people so far. Maybe if you're watching this video, you might be one of those people. But they're putting, they're doing something like this. Instead of room number equals R, they're switching it around. Now, different ways you can keep track of this, but just color-wise, the blue in this area should not be on the right, and the sort of brownish for me should not. So I should not see something like this. And, in a bigger sense of things, right? These things are fields, right? Which are essentially pieces of information that are attached to each object that we create, right? So each object we create is going to have a little label on it called room number, a little label called days rented, a little label called room type that keeps track of that information, right? So here we are in the constructor. Well, the constructor is this method which gets called when you create the object, right? The R and the type, these things are parameters. It's like information that the user or creator of the object gives us when they create the object. It's like input, right? It's like input from the user. We want to take that input and attach it to the object, right? Bind it to the object. Now, if you say R equals room number, it's like you're saying the thing that they gave us is going to take on the value of the field room number. It's totally backwards. It's just 100% completely backwards. And someone said the other day, oh, so the order of that matters left or right. 100% it matters, 100%. And then just conceptually want to understand that what we're doing here, again, the room number is a field. These things are fields, like labels attached to the object, like information the object is storing about itself. In the constructor, we're creating the object, and these values are being given to us, and we want to take those values and bind them to the object. So there we go. All right. Let's see. Oh, right. Accessor methods. Oh, okay. So it says in this thing to check that the string matches one of the 3 possible room types given above, and then assign the correct type. If the type is not one of the rooms given, assign the type double queen. Well, this is interesting. There's a couple ways you can do this. And one way you could potentially do this is just to set this as like a default value. Default, is that okay? I think that's okay. So I'm going to set this as a default value to double queen, right? And then here I'm going to do some checking. Now, if type is, what are my other choices? Oh, no. If type is sweet is an acceptable choice, right? Or type is, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that to me? Or a single king, I believe, is my other option, right? Then guess what? Then I'm gonna set room type to be type, and actually this actually works because it's a single line, so I can just to make it easier to read. I can put up there, boom. Room type equals type. So I'm saying, well, you know what? If they give me sweet, right, that's valid. Or if they give me single king, that's valid. Otherwise, I'm just gonna leave it as double queen, right? I'm just gonna leave it as double queen. And what if they give me something like, I don't know, triple, trundle beds or something like that. It's going to be double queen, right? So if it's not one of these two things, it's going to be double queen. And I think that's the way it works. So let's write some accessor. We're going to write accessor methods for the four private instance variables. So I'm just going to try to do this right here. So accessors, by the way, accessors are the same thing as getters, right? So to access information, you get the information. Mutators are another way to say setters, right? You're going to set values or mutate values. I'm going to try this new thing I learned, which I believe is Alt-Shift-S. Alt-Shift-S. And it says generate getters and setters. Boom. And so I get to choose which ones I want to do. I get to choose if I want just getters and setters. I think I'm just going to do them all. And let's see if that is a problem or not. Okay, cool. All right, so, of course, the reason we need to do this is because we have private fields which cannot be accessed outside the class. These things will not be issues when we're inside the class, but they will be issues when we are outside the class. Now, I have a feeling that there's some special considerations for some of these things, but it's just going to give me a general template, right? So, for example, the set occupant method takes 2 arguments, a string representing the name of the guest and an integer representing the number of days. So set occupant, wait, is this a different method? Oh, okay, so guess what? I think we were only supposed to write getters or accessors for the 4, and only supposed to write one setter method called set occupant, which takes 2 values: a string, name of the guest, right? Or we call it string guest. And then the other argument is a int representing number of days. So we'll just say int days, right? And is this a boolean? Yes. If the room is available, set the occupant name. It's a boolean. It's actually going to return a boolean. Set occupant's going to return a boolean. Now, let's take a look at this. How could we possibly know? How could we possibly know if the room is available? It says assign. Oh, coming back to the constructor. Write a constructor. The constructor takes 2 arguments. Once assign the room number. Set the number of days rented. Oh, I didn't even read that. All right. So days rented automatically gets the value 0. Cool. And the name of the occupant gets the value null. Excuse me, null. Now, I'm just not making this stuff up. I called it Dave. I'm not making this stuff up. It's in part B of the instructions. Okay, and I just didn't read it very closely. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, we check 1 of 3 possible matches. Okay, yeah. So if the room is available, so one thing I have to do in the set occupant method is oh, I had set days. Oh no, did I mess that up? I could actually use this. Get room number, get days rented, get room type. I feel like I'm missing one, huh? Get occupant, probably. Get occupant name, it just returns with me. Okay. So we got to check, see if it's empty. And bottom line is, the way to check for me right now if it's empty is if the occupant name is null. Now, with this guy here, you're actually use double equal sign for null comparison. So null would be like a primitive type as well, or I think would be considered a primitive type. So if occupant name equals null, oopsie, that means that the room is empty. So we can set occupant name. Oh my gosh, to name or to the guest, sorry. And then we can set days rented to days. Right? All right, looking pretty good. Did I misspell something? Just put 3 C's in there. And put 1 C up there, so that is an average of 2 C's. Okay, now don't forget this is a Boolean, right? Boolean, and if I'm able to do this, I want to return true. If I'm not able to do this, I can return false. So a lot of people, again, this is just like writing the difference between maybe writing a function and writing something in, sort of the normal code where you're not returning a value. But when you return values, like the else statement sort of becomes a little bit unnecessary, right? Because if this condition is true here, we'll return a value, meaning there's no way we could ever make it to line 38 if that condition was true. So the else is sort of implicit, I suppose. So otherwise, if we can't set the occupant, we're just going to return false, right? So that looks pretty good to me. The advanced day method takes no argument, returns no values. Whoa, strong. Okay, so if it returns no values, that means the return is void, right? And the method is called advanced day. Takes no arguments, right? So that guy's going to be blank. And what do we got? Okay, so this thing says we're going to reduce the number of days left in the rental by 1. So I believe that's days rented, right? So say minus or minus equals 1. So here's the trick-a-rinsky. If the days left in the rental is 0 or less, set the occupant to null, and the days left in the rental is 0. So why would it be less than 0? Well, because I think you're gonna apply advanced day to every single room in the hotel. Meaning if it's 0, you're gonna apply advanced day, and now it's gonna be a negative value. And then what we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna reset days rented to 0. So if days rented is less than or equal to 0, that means that the room is going to become available. So we're going to say the occupant name is equal to null, and days rented is 0. How about that? And that's it. Otherwise, the occupant will stay the occupant, and we'll just reduce the value for days rented. The toString method. So we talked about toString. We said that's sort of what Java will look to if you print out an object of that class. Of course, you don't really even have to understand that. You can just write it like it's a method called toString, which returns a string. So here we go. It's a method which returns a string. It's called toString. Does it take a parameter? Probably not. Probably not, because it's just gonna whenever you just print the object itself. So here we go. In the current state of the room, the format should be as shown below: room, and then the number, and then a colon, and then the room type. It looks like a dash, and then the status of the room. The status of the room. Blah, 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 blah. So how about different ways you could do this, I guess. I mean, again, we're gonna have like sort of two different deals, right? Depending on the occupant name, depending on whether that's the room is sort of free. So if occupant name equals null, let's return room plus number plus and then type plus it looks like a dash, and then oh well, sorry, if it's null, then it would be free. And again, because of the nature of return, I really don't need an else statement there. I could just come down here and say if it's not null, right? If it is null, we're going to return that thing, right? If it's not null, we're going to return this, and it's going to say rented. Boom. And then it's talking about designing a class called hotel and a file called hotel.java. So that looks like the room class to me. So how can we test the room class? I mean, what do we have? We have these getters, which aren't really probably important. But we have a toString, we have a set occupant. So let's create a room object. What do we need to create a room object? We need a room number and a string type. So let's try something like, here's a room object R1, and it takes a room number. We'll call this room 234, and we'll say the type is let's say suite, and see if that works as expected, right? So at this point, I mean, I could just print out the room, right? And what the toString method does is if I say, hey, print out that object, it's going to refer back to the toString method in terms of how it prints it out. So let's take a quick look. And 234 suite free. That looks good. All right. Yeah, looks pretty good. Wait. Yeah. All right. So I got that. We could try to do, another one of these guys, maybe. Maybe we'll let's call this one R2. And instead of putting sweet in there, what if we put something which is like kind of nonsense? And if it's not like a recognizable thing, we're supposed to get double queen. It should be double queen. And it is double queen. Cool, 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 cool. All right, let's try putting someone in the room, like using the occupant method. So let's say R2 dot set occupant, which requires a guest. How about Taylor Swift? And she's going to stay there 3 days. 3 days. Now, let's print out R2. What is the problem? What is the problem? Oh. How you like that? How you like that? Oh, there it is. Now it is rented. Now it is rented. Nice. And what we could do here is we could say R2 dot advanced day. Right. And we could print it out. Well, we could do a couple things. Let's say we do this. Let's say we do this real quick. This might be fun. Whoa. Let's print out R2 dot, and we'll use the getter get days rented. In fact, maybe we'll do this right here. So we'll print out days rented, and we'll print out the yeah. So when we first rented Taylor Swift for 3 days, we print out days rented. It says 3. And the status of the room is now rented, right? And then let's run this method, advanced days 64. It now says that days rented is 2, and then the room is still rented. So we can kind of just maybe try this a couple times and see when that room becomes free. And it looks like 2, 1 rented, and when it gets to 0, it becomes free. It's already 0. It's just so an interesting thing though too is if you advance the day when the room is free, after advancing the day, the values are still just free and days rented is 0. And yeah, I think that those are all the methods for the room class, other than these like kind of getters, right? So I think that's a pretty good room class. I mean, we'll know more later, right? We'll know more later when we design our hotel class, right? When we design our hotel class. And so actually what I'm going to do right now is just kind of let this thing go and say, hey, no more main class for the, or no more main method for the room class. And now when we go build the hotel class, we'll put a main method in the hotel class, and we'll test it there too, okay? So I think I'm going to pause there. I know the big one is the rooms array in the hotel class, so I'll get to that tomorrow if I can't get to it before then. All right.